You know what, Jamie? Let's pop off right now. We got to get started.
We got to go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the people in the chat. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IRSSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, October 3rd, and it's another Mailbag show, Jamie. Got a lot of great questions from Irish Sports Daily customers, so we're fired up. This is going to be a pretty long show. Just throwing that in there. It's going to be a little lengthy. We got a lot of late questions in from the people, so. But we love the questions, and we love the interaction that we have from the customers. So that's going to be real fun. So thank you everyone for joining the show, or if you're watching on replay, if you like what you hear, please like the show, please subscribe, please hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below if you prefer the audio format, and subscribe to us there as well. Rate the show, give us 5-star ratings. BRPG7. He's here for the long show, so we're in here for the long haul. A stubborn mix says, God bless the Yama Flama. And full credit to that one. That's good stuff. Let's see. Mr. Sanders says Notre Dame got dumped by the prom queen and scored with her younger sister. Let's go. What does that mean?
I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea what that means. The prom queen. Maybe Mr. Sanders can explain that. It's not prom season, but it is homecoming season, Jamie. My nephew, he went to homecoming this last weekend for the first time. He was Pops McGee. First, he donated $100 to the school in Long Beach. So you posted. It's not so. I posted something on Long Beach has a 562.org, which is basically the 562 is the area code in Long Beach. They're a nonprofit that basically covers all of Long Beach sports. And I put it out there. It's like they basically depend solely on like donations and that sort of thing. And they did a fundraiser. Pops, I posted on Twitter. Pops, thank you so much. That really helps them out. They cover they're the best coverage in Long Beach sports there is. But I was talking about my nephew. We went to homecoming this last weekend, Jamie, for the first time. He went to a high school dance. It was very exciting, and I feel like I blew it because homecoming season, Jamie. What can you do? You can go to ESQclothing.com and get Ga Wang's custom for the world's first bamboo dress shirt. It's crafted from high quality bamboo fabric. It's the softest and most comfortable shirt you'll ever put on. Not only more sustainable than cotton, also feels cooler, has stretch, is odor and wrinkle resistant, and it's even machine washable. You've seen ESQ's one-piece collar bamboo dress shirt on all of Notre Dame's top players and coaches, and it's the perfect shirt for today's business meeting or heading for a night out. So use ISD15 and get 15% off all online items. ISD15 for 15% off all online items. Jamie, I should have used that for my nephew. I didn't know he was going. I feel bad. I feel like a bad uncle. I blew it, but we're going to try to do better. Okay, the hand up. That's my fault. Should have used the ISD code, ISD15, and got him 50% off. A tremendous shirt. He would have been the talk of the town. And Notre Dame's the talk of the town right now, Jamie. Should we talk about the piece of content that the Notre Dame staff put out there? Coaches on the headsets. This made the rounds. A lot of the time, there's Notre Dame media. They put out stuff and it gets shared around the Notre Dame sphere and that sort of thing. This made it national. People from all over the place, all sorts of national media sharing this video. What do you think, Jamie? What was your take on that?
I thought it was amazing. I thought that was like one of the best pieces of team generated content that I've ever seen, to be honest. Like, it's not even that, and that's why you got people that aren't Notre Dame fans being like, this is an awesome video, right? Like, it was so well done, it was so well edited. Like, I'm sure they had to cut out a bunch of stuff that was said that they can't put out there, whether it's expletives or just other kind of strategy that they don't want to have out there. Some people ask like, oh, should they be revealing? And there was nothing in there.
There's nothing in there that's anything.
No, there was nothing in there that is gonna help another team or anything like that. It was obviously just kind of showing the raw emotion from them, and just like the little wrinkles too, of just like talking about the 2-point when you got the timeout, like that kind of thing. Is like, that's good stuff, right? That is really good stuff. And man, I think they've just done a tremendous job there, with like Fighting Irish Media and all that kind of stuff that they've it's really gotten better. But that was, I mean, I can't really remember a better one that from a college football program. I can't think of one. I haven't seen one that was more well done than that. So man, just tip your cap to what a great job that everyone there did. And phenomenal work. And I mean, rarely, I'm not the kind of person I'll watch it and enjoy it once, and that's great. But I can't stop watching the video. I've watched it 4 times. And honestly, just it's just one of those things. It's just so well done. And it kind of gives you that feeling like it was like movie quality the way they told the story. It was fantastic job.
It was very, very good. I mean, there's just from a production quality standpoint and the type of content it's excellent, truly excellent. Mitch of Ohio, I think he's where I'm at. Like I was really focusing on like what is the information here? So
they talk about that. I don't know. Okay.
Well, he said the 37. I think that's true. Like he did say like the 37-yard line. And I think for him, it's like that's a fifth. So that'd be a 54 yarder.
He made a 54.
Yeah. So I think what he's saying there is like, look, when he says make it realistic, it's like, look, maybe he could make a 57-yarder, maybe, but like
maybe he can make a 60, but like
get it to the 37. Like that's where we want to go.
That's like the bare minimum is kind of what he's saying. Is like that's kind of I think people kind of took it in the wrong way. Like the goal is the 37. No, that's like the bare minimum of what you have to get is what to make it where it's realistic, right? So I think that's kind of the way I took it, because that kind of conversation happens all the time. It happens all the time.
It has to happen. Like imagine they don't know. Like we get on like planning and 10 men on the field and stuff. Imagine that they don't know what the yard line is. Like they have to ask. Like it's standard. You have to know, hey, where do you want us to get to? Like 37. Like make it realistic. Like get to the 37. He can make it from 54. Like we're not worried about distance there. It's just about kind of getting the kickoff and all that stuff, right? So I don't have a problem. I mean, it's like the way that they edit the video it's not in line with how things are playing out in the actual game. So like when is the conversation happening about like where do you want to run it, or when do you want to, like what do they want to do after they spike the ball? Like we don't know exactly when those conversations are happening. That was something I focused on, and I told myself to settle down. Like it's not like just settle down. This isn't like a real like timestamp thing. You don't know exactly when it happened, but the main takeaway is Notre Dame is the buzz online. They are on social media. Notre Dame is buzzing in what they put out there, and that's honestly like that's what you want from your media company. That's the whole point of that. So good job by them. No, Brennan, he doesn't say the 30. He missed a 37-yard. No, he's not saying give me a 37-yard. He's saying the 37 is where you want to kick from, because you add 10 plus 7 for the holder, so it's a 54-yarder there. So
so basically they're saying within 30, within the 37-yard line is where where that's realistic that he could make the kick. And I think everybody, like no one who covers the team, I'm sure the coaches privately, no one feels confident right now in Spencer Schrader. Like Spencer Schrader probably doesn't feel confident in Spencer Schrader. He hasn't kicked well. He's missed too many kicks. So I think, at that point, but at the same time, what are they going to do? Not kick it if they have a chancer? They have to kick it if it's one of those situations, right? Like they don't have a choice, right? So I think that's kind of where they're at. I mean, I also think that like playing for a field goal at the end of the game would have been so much different if he wasn't the kicker. If it was Justin Yoon, you'd be like, man, that's great coaching. That is a great thing. But it's because of the context of what is going on with the kicker right now. I don't think anyone has confidence in what's going on with the kicking game. That's why, I mean, everyone has said that, like, maybe they'll make a change, and we'll have to see. It should be like a competition because let's face it, like it didn't necessarily, obviously they still could have won the game against Ohio State, but those 3 points mattered against Ohio State, and it could have mattered in this game, right? Obviously, Duke, look at what happened with Duke. Duke's kicker was a very accurate kicker until this game, and then just one of those things. It's college kickers, man.
Yep. Clearly, Estime didn't have confidence in the kicker. That's a good one, Stubborn Mick. Good job by you. All right. Let's get to the questions, Jamie, because we have a lot. All right. First question. Hurry up. All right. XRND 1994. What do you think Louisville will try to do defensively based on what they saw Duke do?
I'm going to guess that they're going to activate those safeties quite a bit, right? So they already play like a 4-2-5, but their nickel is like a linebacker, basically. He's like a linebacker safety. That guy is going to be involved. Benjamin Perry. He is going to be involved playing downhill in the run game a lot, right? So that's what's going to happen. They're going to have those guys playing downhill quite a bit. I imagine I would expect like a lot of like run blitzes from those safeties. A lot of those guys just playing very aggressive. Because the other thing is they can kind of play aggressive because Notre Dame hasn't shown outside of, the NC State game where they caught them with some play action. They haven't shown they burn anyone on play action with anything. So at this point, they can kind of afford to be aggressive with that. I mean, the one thing I'll say that I don't think like, one of the reasons that Duke had so much success was because their defensive line was better than Notre Dame's offensive line. And that's really kind of what it comes down to. And their defensive tackles are not close to Duke's defensive tackles. I mean, they're not in the same ballpark. Yeah. So from that perspective, they're going to need those extra bodies, I think, to stop the run. And I don't expect it to be the same as what happened against Duke.
And even the play action they do run, Jamie, it's just like so unconvincing. Like it's a token. Like, like it just, I don't see that. Like it just, so anytime you get run, I think like you said, they can thunder that. And then, like you said, they just haven't shown the ability to go over the top with any player. And so
they're not setting it up formationally. Like they're not like, because it's like we kind of talked about, like it's obvious that the other team sees a formation and they're like, we're getting this or this.
Yeah. And
that is happening right now with Notre Dame's run game. And they have to find more ways to exploit that. That's why a guy like Kyle Shanahan is as good as he is because he takes one play or one formation and he says, he sees what you're doing with it. And then he attacks off of that and adjusts off of that. And Notre Dame isn't doing that, or like they definitely didn't do it in this game. Yeah. So I think they did it. That's one of the reasons why it worked against NC State. They saw how they were getting a look there and then they took advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the type of thing where, when we talk about play calling and stuff, it's not run and pass. It's the types of runs and the types of pass that I think, have a bigger problem with. And so, like, look, teams have tape on Parker now. They have tendencies on Parker now. They have tendencies on Notre Dame. That's where the adjustments have to come.
Yeah.
That's where the adjustments weren't there against Duke. And so they need to be there against Louisville and going forward. Silverback asks, does Hartman have the freedom to change the play to something more favorable than what was called after he sees how the defense lines up?
I mean, I don't know how much freedom exactly because he hasn't done it a lot. He said it. I mean, the very first game in the season, he checked into something that they hit for a big play. So it's not like we haven't seen him check into stuff. But I think one of the things, especially you look at Notre Dame's process on the road, like right now, obviously they have a lot of pre-snap penalties. They've had a lot of pre-snap penalties. They aren't getting into the offense quick enough to make those adjustments, and they're not playing it like that. They're not going there and running the check with me's, and they're not doing that enough. And I would say that's something that needs to change. Like, people didn't like the scan offense or whatever, but I mean, it was something that was effective a lot of the time. And if you're not doing that, and if you're playing slow, how Notre Dame plays slow pace wise, right? Like, they're not, they're run, the close to the bottom in plays per second or whatever, right? Or plays per minute or whatever it is. But so because of that, it's like you need to do more to take advantage of it. And even if you have to call in, you need to do more, whether it's pre-snap motion, pre-snap movement. They got to do more. It's got to be more.
Yeah. We noted, like, on their passing plays, like, they're running man beaters against zone and zone beaters against man. You got to check out of these things, like, you got to get, like, I noticed it early in the on the first drive for Ohio State when they hit it was like their first down that they picked up. They hit Stover on that little middle thing, and they sent Henderson out of the backfield and lined him up on the side, and then they brought him back, and they thought no one matched him, so it's zone. So they totally switched their formation on the outside, and they got into a zone beater. And, like, Notre Dame doesn't do that. And Notre Dame did that a ton with Tommy Rees. Like, people used to, like, oh, Tommy Rees, like, he's such a good coordinator. Like, he doesn't, like, oh, what's with all these motions and what's with all this hocus pocus? And then they run some simple play. It's like, yeah, but it's useful information. And it's not like Tommy Rees is, like, the greatest offensive coordinator. Like, he's clearly not. But there were reasons why he did things like that. And Notre Dame isn't doing those things. And then they get into passing plays that are not designed to beat the defenses they're going against. That's the problem. They need to do more of it. It's just it's a good point that you just made.
One other thing I just wanted to add too, and it's something I plan to write about in Six Thoughts this week too, was that Hartman, and this is another one of these things where we talk about the adjustment from going to that slow mesh offense at Wake Forest and to what they're doing now at Notre Dame. Well, because of how that offense was, the plan of attack against an offense, like, literally, like, across the board, everybody 50% blitz, like, high blitz percentage, because you're attacking that mesh a lot of the times, and because you're trying to, like, kind of screw up what that exchange, that make the decision tougher or whatever. You're trying to speed up the process of that slow process. And if you just wait, it gives them more time to kind of make a decision. So that's generally the approach against a slow mesh. It's like 48%. You look at any game of, you go on, like, PFF's numbers, and you're like 48% blitz, 50% blitz, whatever it is, right? And sometimes 60 in some of those games. Well, Notre Dame isn't getting blitzed nearly the same. It's like 28% right now. So when you compare that, it's just a lot different. You're getting, it's not just that it's the system's different. It's like, well, you're not used to seeing all this, like, drop 8, rush 4 and play coverage behind, like, you're getting different looks, and it's an adjustment. It's a definite adjustment.
James Lorenzensi is asking, are you surprised Hartman only has one game passing over 300 yards? He had 7 last season for Wake Forest. No. They are not designed to be a 300-yard passing team. They don't throw deep enough. They're not explosive enough for that, given how often they're throwing the ball and how often they're running the ball.
And I mean, you look at the 3 of the first 4 games. I mean, he doesn't play full games in those games. Like, they're they could do differently if they wanted to. In those kind of games, you could do whatever you want, basically, right? So it's different. The offense is different. It's designed, the personnel's different, all of it.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I have done mentally. Other people can do the same or not. The Sam Hartman and the offense that we thought was possible, I don't think is going to happen. I think that's gone. The ship has sailed on that. They are going to be much closer to what they wanted to be in like 2020, frankly. I think that's what it's going to look like going forward. And we'll talk about the wide receivers later, but that's what I think it's going to be. I think what we thought it could be, Jamie, is not. That's gone, in my opinion. We'll see, right? This game will go a long way to seeing if that's true, because the Louisville defense isn't close to what Duke and Ohio State have. They have good players. They're not a bad team in that sense, like bad, but they're not good. Like, they're not like a very strong defense. And so we'll see. But I don't think that that's coming anymore, unfortunately. But we'll see. Iris Bronx says, seems to me the Notre Dame run game philosophy is to take body blows all game and wear you down. Didn't that work the last 2 weeks? They blew Ohio State off the ball the last 2 drives until they got cute, and Duke looked gassed on their last drive. Not a total endorsement, but an observation.
I don't know if that's like the strategy. Like, I mean, I think in general, they want to do that. Like, they would like to do that and wear people down. I think that's kind of how they're built too, right? Like, it's people want them to be something that they're not when they're not built that way. So it's like, that's why it was always going to be hard for Hartman to throw 300 yards a game, because, well, they don't really have the receivers to do that. They don't play at the pace that that he doesn't throw nearly as much percentage wise or attempts, and now that they have all these injuries at receiver, that hurts as well, right? So they're built to be a team that runs 4-minute offense in the fourth quarter, right? Like, to kind of do that kind of play, that kind of style. But it's you have to be more explosive with that. And in saying that, they did, Duke only gave up 6 offensive plays or 6 explosive plays in the first 4 games, and Notre Dame had 7, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But really, Notre Dame didn't wear them down. That is not like a real thing. They had the one run. They didn't wear them down. Duke kicked their ass. It's excuse my language, but they kicked their butt up front.
Yeah, I think every running team wants to wear teams down, and that's the point, right? Like, that's the point of running the ball. So, it's a correct observation, I think. But yeah, I think Duke won that battle for sure, and I think Notre Dame players admitted that as well. Irish Bronx with another question: are we underrating the significance of Notre Dame being down to a guy playing the 5th game as a receiver, a freshman, and a sophomore who seems to be going through a crisis of confidence at wideout? That's a bit of a crisis situation. I think I personally didn't factor that in as much in my post game analysis. I think, in fairness to Parker, probably. So I think this is a good observation from Irish Bronx. But I mean, so you're obviously different, right? The way that you, when you factor in the analysis, like, do you feel like you said you don't think you're underrating it? Why do you think that is?
Well, I just think, I mean, we brought it up that it's like a big deal,
Yeah.
and that it was going to, I mean, that the challenge is it's not like people have ignored it. And I think, you mentioned with the analysis, if you don't mention it, that's like
Yeah.
malpractice on our part. If you don't mention like that part of like what they had at wideout in the game, then you're not being fair. That's not fair analysis. So I think we, have brought it up, and, should we bring it up as more of a factor? Yeah, maybe that is fair, that we should bring it up as
Yeah.
more of a factor. But also too, like, it's something that I never get. I mean, I've talked about that. I came out of the NC State and Ohio State games where I was like, Notre Dame doesn't have the dudes at receiver. Like, I never, I thought, I think that's 6 games in, even with all those, even if Thomas and Greathouse are healthy, I don't think it's like, man, light up the skies. Like, I just don't think they have that, right? Like, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not there.
Yeah, and I think that was evident too. Sometimes I make the mistake of assuming. I think I make the mistake of assuming things are understood when I make analysis, and I don't spell out like, okay, I understand that Notre Dame is down these guys, and then I kind of go in on the passing game or the passing offense. Like, I'm baking that into my analysis. So, like, even though I know that they're down those guys, like, I still think there are things that they can do to make it easier on the wide receivers they have. Like, one of the things that really helps wideouts is play action. When you're doing straight drops all the time, you're basically asking those guys to win one-on-one matchups. If they're not ready yet, and if they're not there, then that's making it harder for them, and you have safeties who aren't biting, and you have corners who aren't peeking in the backfield, like stuff like that. I mean, it's just kind of basic. Like, you have this great running game. You want them thinking about it all the time. Anytime you can make them think about the running game when you're trying to pass, like, that's a positive. So that's, but sometimes I make the mistake of not articulating that like up front. And so, it's good to kind of have that brought to your attention. Irish Fan 38 asks, why is there so much coaching confusion on the sideline? 10 players on the field getting in plays in late in the game, etc. Hartman was, he didn't understand. So basically he got the play in late on the touchdown run to Estime, basically, and they're scrambling to the line. And obviously in that situation, like, you're at the 29. If they're going fast, Notre Dame had a bunch of time or a bunch of false starts in the game. You false start there. Now you're at the 34. And it's like, well, now you kind of have to throw the ball, and now you can't just run it, kind of thing. Are you concerned about that? Just like the late game stuff we've seen the last couple games.
I mean, the 10 play, I put that in a completely different category.
Yeah.
Yes, it's extremely concerning. And that was not good,
Yeah.
But I put it in a completely different category. The one thing I'll say, and the one thing you can get from that video too, is that it does seem extremely collaborative in terms of how they're approaching offense, which I don't think is a bad thing, because it sounds like a lot of these guys, they're on the same page, that is good. That is definitely a good thing. But I also would like Parker, and that's also part of him, maybe inexperience, be more assertive and like be like, we get this first down, we're running it, like, or just ask free right away. Are we running it like? And maybe he did, and that's whatever. You don't know the exact content.
That's why I say the editing is kind of
So
like
yeah,
it
so
can
we
be kind of
don't.
tricky.
So we don't know for sure then too. But it does. It did take them too long to get in that play. The fact that they had to rush to the line to get that in, like after the, they already
After
did
they
this. They
spiked
spiked
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's bad. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, that is, they got it off, so it's fine and whatever. But if they had to take a timeout there, then yes, roast them. But they didn't. So it's like one of these things. It's like you can't really put the what if. They got it done and then they scored. So I don't know. But it could have been bad. Be quicker, be better. Yeah.
Is bad process, I think,
Yeah.
which I think you got to ding them for. You got to have good process.
Yep.
It worked out, I mean, look, they had bad process the last 2 times. I think that's how I see it. In late game situation, the process wasn't good. And so it is what it is. Like, yeah, it's concerning. 100%. Like, to me, it's concerning. Is it like, that it doesn't have to be bigger than that, other than it's concerning, and we'll monitor it. It's got to be monitored at this point, very, very closely. P Shakes 831. With the lack of speed at wide receiver, what would you consider giving? Would you consider giving Jeremiah Love a look at wide receiver?
No, he's the number 2 running back right now. Like they need him at running back. I mean, I would consider. Oh, so on that one play to Tobias that they threw the post, he ran a wheel. It was covered. They did a great Duke's defense, man. When you rewatch the game, like
they're good.
They were on it.
They're good.
They're good. They're very good. Just you don't see busts. Like they are very they understand the scheme. They know what's coming. Like they were very well prepared and played a really good game. But yeah, I would like to see more stuff of like kind of just like those plays like where Tyree like ran the seam down the middle of the field from Love, like that kind of thing. I would like to see more of. I would like to see Love get just how about like a little swing screen to Love where you just got 3 guys trips to the one side and you got 3 guys blocking for him front. Love to see something like that. Just get him the ball in space more. I mean, which the running game wise they do, right? Like they run those sweeps, pin and pull sweeps with him. But would like to see it more. Yeah.
I mean, against Ohio State, they went heavy and motion Greathouse, and they gave him a jet. Give it to Love.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Like that.
Motion him out and give him a bubble. Do that. Like that's not putting him at wide receiver, but it's giving him the ball out in space. He's shown the ability. Like he'll break a tackle. Like he'll get yards. It's not one of these things where it's like you put him in space and there's one guy there and it's like he's going down. Like he'll break a tackle. So do stuff like that. It doesn't have to be fully wide receiver, but it's getting the ball in space, which I think is kind of the crux of the question. Chris ND92 asks, after watching Sam Hartman up close for 6 games, what's your opinion on whether he's got a future in the NFL?
I think he is a guy where he's kind of right now about where I thought he would be even before he came to Notre Dame. Not that I haven't been impressed with him. I have been, but I still think he's like probably like a late round guy who could be a backup for many years. Definitely have that chance to do that, but I don't see him as like a frontline starter, a guy who's going to be a high pick or anything like that. I don't think he's played his way into that. And I don't think he just kind of has that. I mean, his size is a real thing too. Like that is something that, he manages it well, but he's not a big guy. And that's like, if you are small, not that you can't be small, but there's a reason there aren't many elite small guys playing quarterback.
It's one of those things like you can be small, but you better be really good at like all the other stuff. And like he can, Sam Hartman can spin it now. Like he can really throw the ball. He can really toss it around. I do feel like there's a processing problem though. In the same way Ian Book kind of had a processing problem to a point, where it's just like you're not seeing everything all the time. I mean, I don't know. Like we've talked about it before. Like, are they really a full field team? Like doesn't really seem like it,
No.
So that's kind of like that's his biggest impediment is that piece. There's a question here. Justin Alexander asked a question about Merryweather and Braylon James. That's going to come up later, so I don't want to step on that question. But stick in there, Justin. We're going to get to that one as well. All right, hold on. There we go. All right. Moving on. Iris Bronx, another question. What's a realistic expectation for Thomas and Greathouse on Saturday?
I think the fact that they said that they were close for last week means that they should probably both be like pretty full go.
Marcus Freeman said Monday they're going to practice Tuesday. So that would basically put them in line to be ready to go. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah. So I think that's realistic and that they'll have kind of normal roles. Remember how like DJ Brown missed the Central Michigan game with a hammy? So like that kind of thing.
First of all, a lot of hamstrings, Jamie.
I have noticed.
Monitoring. Because I don't want to make blame on this. I don't want it to be a thing. Generally speaking, if you have a bunch of guys with hamstring, soft tissue stuff, that's a strength and conditioning problem.
Well,
or a nutrition problem.
It could. This is why too. Like you don't know for sure because it's. I always think it's a load problem. So is it the strength conditioning is doing too much? Is it the practice is doing too much? Like when you're stressing guys with it. And
it is true that they're short at wide receiver, and it is a lot of the wide receivers. So fair
it's
point.
Another thing too that's another reason too why people just like, man, we got these guys, we got enough guys who can play. Only just many guys play. It's reps all the way through in camp and practice all summer, all of that. That's why you got to have X amount of receivers on your team. And that's why, too, you get screwed by it because you can't run one-on-ones or whatever. But it's like that means that someone else might have to run way more one-on-ones. Like, and obviously, they monitor the load and all this kind of stuff. But if it changes the way you practice, that's not good for your team, right? That's not good, right? If you can't, like, so here's another thing with the passing game this week. How much like 7-on-7 they run in practice preparing like against like deuce coverages? Probably not a lot because they couldn't. Like that hurts. That hurts you in your preparation. And that's just that's a reality.
Yeah. Something to monitor though, right? You don't want that. They haven't had that. Like they didn't have it last year. But like you said, load, it could be load going into the off season, like you said. And look, it doesn't sound like they're very serious injuries, right? Like if they're back practicing, Jaden Thomas hurts himself during Ohio State, misses a week, comes back. Like it's not a bad pull or anything like that. Same thing with Greathouse. Like it sounds like that was a midweek injury and now he's back practicing. Not a bad pull, right? So I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on.
Not like the Lenzy thing in like where Lenzy was like that was nothing like that yet, right? So that's good.
Yeah, what I guess I would kind of caution myself is like Marcus Freeman says, "Oh, they'll be back Tuesday." I don't know what that means, really. Are they practicing like full go Tuesday, or are they just like doing walkthrough stuff in shorts? Like we don't know what that means. So in my opinion, Greathouse was out there in warmups and in his uniform and that sort of thing. Like that's a pretty good sign. Thomas was not. To me, hamstrings, you got to be very careful. I'll put it like this. If they had better numbers, I don't think they would play, just because you don't want to. You don't want to try to fire those things up. But the rule for me just generally was always like, when you think you're ready, give it another week kind of thing. Notre Dame can't really afford to do that right now. But so it's just I don't have like great expectations like a stubborn Mick has 8 catches, 210 and two touchdowns as the floor for Jaden Thomas. I don't have those expectations. Let's just say that. It'd be nice if they got reps, for sure. Because I think just Jaden Thomas being on the boundary so that everyone could go back to their normal positions is as important as anything else. Drew Brennan asks, with our tackling being not too great this year, how much does a team like Louisville, who has some real quickness on the offensive side, how much does that scare you? It's one thing to miss a tackle against Central Michigan. It's another to do against a team with speed, as the missed tackle can be a house call.
Maybe I'm in the minority, but I'm not that worried about the missed tackles as much. Like, I just think that it hasn't been like, it's been more selective when it's happened. It's not like a consistent problem where it's like, geez, this is happening all game, right? Like, and also too, like, whatever. And I'm not saying this just for Greg and all the safety heads out there, but safeties are going to miss tackles because they are put into the hardest situations possible.
Yeah.
And also, you play against Riley Leonard, who is a tough guy to tackle. Clemson couldn't tackle him, right? Like, Clemson couldn't tackle him. Like, and so he broke some tackles. Like, that's fair. I will say, like, I do think Notre Dame's corners have to tackle better. They have to absolutely tackle better. I think that is something, Greg and I have mentioned off the air, like, we are monitoring that. That is something. Because, Thrash is a really good after the catch guy. He can break it, right? Coleman is a very, exciting player. Jawar Jordan is, but Jawar Jordan's not a tackle breaker, by the way. He's like if you get, you have a break, like, if you got a bust, you guys don't control your gap, he could take it 70. But if you do your assignment, he's going to probably run for 3. Like, he's not a guy who's going to run through a lot of tackles. He's not a tackle breaker. He's just a great speed dude. So from that perspective, I would worry about it with Thrash. Like, he is definitely a guy that you don't want there. But also, Louisville isn't a drive it on your team. They need that. They absolutely need that. And I don't know if they're going to get enough of that. And if you also too, are you getting enough pressure on Plummer and you're messing him up? If they're doing what they've kind of done pressure wise, then I think they're going to be fine. And it won't come back to bite them enough.
What I've noticed with the corners is their issues with tackling are more like run support, or like coming up and making like a big hit rather than like their receiver in space or something like that. Like, I think there's the physicality aspect. Like, when Ohio State swings it out to train him and Ben Morrison needs to come up, take it in the face or take it on the shoulder and get him on the ground, he's kind of like, let me dive at his leg and maybe this will work out kind of thing. Like, sometimes you just got to take it. And it's going to hurt, and it's a bummer in the sport, but you got to do that. You throw your face in there, and they just haven't done that. Like you said, I don't – the safety stuff, it's like sometimes DJ Brown misses a tackle because there's just an athletic liability. I think Xavier Watts misses a tackle because he's a little too amped up, and he's trying to make like too big of a hit, and he just – takes kind of like there's a wrong angle or he slips off or something like that. I don't see it as like a huge problem. Like, honestly, against Duke, like, I didn't think like, oh, this is like a real big issue. Like, I didn't think that. And then I look on PFF and they have 15 missed tackles. I'm like, wow, I just didn't feel that watching the game. But yeah, I mean, we can monitor. I mean, it's certainly something to watch against USC. I mean, that's
oh yeah, it's way more worrisome against USC because
yeah,
they have like 6-7 guys that it could, you do that and you're screwed. So
for sure. All right, next question. Irish KMG, do you think after fighting the last two games as hard as they did, Notre Dame will now find a new belief a la Virginia Tech after the Michigan fiasco in 2019? I know the next two games at night will be rough, but can Notre Dame find a second wind after putting that victory out of the way last Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they absolutely. I mean, obviously they needed to win that game, but like, because if they lost it in a way, it would have been bad. But like, I think the fact that also you kind of got to throw NC State in that too, because it was tight, and then they pulled away. Like they dominated that fourth quarter, and really like they, they did a lot of good stuff in that Ohio State thing up until the end.
Yeah.
So I think the team has a belief that they're going to win those games in the fourth quarter, and obviously they had to go win it, and they did. So, I mean that helps a lot. That helps a lot because if you're tight with USC, so USC they had this game against Colorado that was tight, but it was like they gave it back they let it become tight.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really like too much in danger of them losing that game. Where, I mean, USC hasn't had to come back on anyone this year. They haven't had to come back. They haven't had to show that they haven't really, and they're not. I can't remember who they're playing this week, but it's nobody good, right? So it's like that helps if you've had these battles and the team you're playing hasn't had them.
Yeah. I mean, it's the next two games. I mean, it's difficult, right? Like I don't know how they're going to we can point to the Virginia Tech thing because it's in hindsight. And so we know how it all played out. We don't know how this is going to play out for Notre Dame. So I don't know where this is headed for them. We'll see, right? Like, I think you could make the case that they were down after Ohio State. They were on the way to losing again. They saved the season, and this brings them forward. Like, you could absolutely see that. You could also absolutely see them just kind of these next two games. Like, it's too many games in a row without a break, and it just kind of wears them down, and it costs them. So,
I just a small interruption here, just because I don't know why I just got interested in this because Greg and I were talking about it before, but I know like a lot of people were talking about Braden Fisk was a guy that Notre Dame targeted in the portal, and they were like, man, like this guy, huge loss. Like he would have been this difference maker. They needed this guy. And obviously, Howard Cross is balling out, playing just phenomenal. The first 6 games, he's one of the best defensive tackles in the country in the first 6 games. And Mills, too, isn't having the same type of season, but as a pass rusher, he's been good. He has been good as a pass rusher in terms of his pressure rate and all that. Braden Fisk right now for Florida State, by the way, doesn't start for them. So that's, just letting you know, doesn't start. He's got 5 pressures, a 3.7% pass rush win rate, 3.7% versus true pass sets. So like the the no play action, no screens, whatever, a robust 5.7%. He ain't it. He was going to be a rotation guy. He looked good against Toledo. It ain't Toledo anymore. Like he's whatever. And I don't even mean to shade the guy, but it was like, I just wanted to bring that up because just in case you're thinking, man, Notre Dame missed out. If you weren't already reminded that Notre Dame already had better players than that, you know it from what you've seen this year. But yet now you definitely know it he ain't it.
And you don't end up with JJB, who
No.
is it.
Yes.
Like he's clearly he played his best game in Notre Dame's biggest game. I mean,
yes.
What else is there to say?
Good in this game too.
Yeah, that's just true. So next question from CHSFB75. Do we think Notre Dame can slow down Caleb Williams and the USC offense?
I mean, I would say no right now, but I mean, they might be able to, but I think a lot of stuff has to go. I think they have to have just a lights out game plan. It has to be just an absolute elite game plan. They have to be completely healthy going into that game. All of their best players have to be healthy, like enough. That's something that probably isn't talked about enough, how Notre Dame's playing all of these games to start the season without getting a bye. And then that's kind of the end of it. That's why they've had these injuries going into it. Some of these other teams have already had bye. Ohio State had a bye after Notre Dame, and they had played one less game than Notre Dame, and they had a bye, and it was probably helpful because that's a very physical game, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of it, and then I don't know. Like I mean, obviously Caleb Williams is just the kind of guy that you can do everything right, and then all of a sudden he just beats you anyway, right? And also they just have like incredible speed across the board, with their skill guys. So they're the best offense in the country, just in terms of like talent and what they've done, right? And I think they are number one right now in OF plus, the combined FEI and SP plus. So I mean, it's tough. That's going to be the toughest test that Notre Dame's defense will have all year. And even frankly, if they don't pass it, it's not even like a knock on them, because I don't know how many teams are going to be able to stop them at all. That's why it's like, you got to get turnovers. You got to get all these other things.
It's going to be a huge game again for Thomas Harper and whoever's in the slot. He's going to have the toughest job again on the field, or Clarence Lewis or whoever's in there. I will say this, should they, knock on wood, should the secondary stay healthy, they were completely unhealthy last year, which really hurt them.
It was bad.
I think that it may not have been his best game, I guess, but I don't think that Marist has ever looked better than he did on Saturday. He was unbelievably explosive in that game. I mean, tracking down Riley Leonard can run. He is an athlete, and Marist is ragdolling him. I mean, it's just he was so good in this game. So in terms of USC, that single fact might be the most encouraging thing we could have seen. I think the way, and you put a bunch of clips on Twitter about this, Jamie, the way that Notre Dame is handling the spy now is really good. Really good, because they're disguising pressure as well. And the linebacker is just sitting there, and you don't really know which one of them is spying, although the offense can kind of dictate who it is. And if they were smart, they would probably dictate that it's Bertrand and not Marist. But man, he looked great, and that's a big deal when you're talking about defending Caleb Williams. So that's something to monitor, as far as like, that's going to be a huge matchup. The Notre Dame slots against USC's slot receivers, and then can Marist have a game like he did last Saturday against Caleb Williams? Because then it's just going to be a lot harder for him to escape pocket and run around like that. And like Howard Cross is another one where it's like they run against light boxes. Can you win?
Yeah.
In the light box situation, because if USC can run it, you're really in a bad way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna monitor that. We're gonna monitor it. And if Jamie, if you want to monitor, how your website is doing or how your small business is doing with, your social media and your video game and your cinematic video game, you want to go with VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com and mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. All right. Next question from from Seat Pampson. It's funny. Pete's a good guy. That's funny though. That's really funny. Seat Pampson.
I love how this was just with it. Just he didn't go like and change it to like seat, like SEAT.
Yeah.
He just full on just flipped the S and
yeah. Seat Pampson.
You gotta respect it. You gotta respect it.
Are we beyond monitoring stage on penalties, missed tackles? A well-coached, clean operation from week 1 seems long gone. How did they address these issues before the bye? Defense has been solid, but they seem to roll personnel at critical times. Clarence Lewis being on the last series. Are we set to see him at the nickel? So we've addressed the tackling. Where are you at with the penalties, Jamie?
I mean, some of them should not happen at all. Like I definitely think that lining up offsides like can't happen. And yes, okay, like I'll admit the Hart one, especially because you at corner, give like sideline judge, like give a heads up, man. Like it's if he was doing it the whole game, then fine, whatever, right? But it's like just tell him, right? Like that part I think is BS, but like the thing with Botello, I mean, it was obvious. You just can't do it. You can't do it. That was like D Ford in the AFC Championship game. You can't do it. In saying that, there was the one guy who put it up. Sir, I'll find it in the questions that were put it on the site, but like that. Basically, the problems. If you look at the games, it's like. Against ACC teams, I mean, 10 penalties, Duke 12, right? Everybody else 1-4, 8-4, right? So against Ohio State 4, right? I'm monitoring the ACC refs. I think it's pretty obvious they're trying to get that ACC, bagel and change it into a 1. It's just one of these things that like definitely because it would be one thing if it was just like, oh man, all these penalties, whatever. They pick up the flags, like just it happens enough that you're like, they review a play that's non-reviewable. Like what? Like that's gross incompetence. So, I mean, they have to get the penalties down. They can't have those Botello lineups offsides kind of penalties. Mm-hmm. Yes, like they can't have that kind of stuff. Like those are just inexcusable. I think the Zeke Correll jumping was like they were clapping and get it. Like, and it's not an excuse, but it's a reality. Like that happens, right? But you got to have less penalties. I think that's true. But also, like, just at some point, you almost have to be like, why are we affiliated with this conference? Like, it's like, come on, it's a joke. It's a total joke.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I just want to hit the Clarence Lewis thing. Right. I think Clarence Lewis was in the last series because Harper blew that play at the goal line. Yeah. And that's why they put him in, which I don't have a problem with when you consider like that was a pretty big play. Like, and they took out Maris, who was playing really, really well. He missed a tackle and they put in Kaiser for like 2 plays. Like, Riley Mills, he got reach blocked on the thing. They had like a big, their longest run of the day, 34-yard run. didn't take his gap. I mean, the guy's friggin' lined up as a 3-tech in the B gap, and he gets reached. Like, no excuse for it. They give up 30 for a run. Jason Onye's in the next play. Like, good. That's the kind of thing you should do. That's how you hold people accountable. So I think that's more of, I mean, them having those guys on the third down and that third and medium, I have more problem with that than one we already kind of talked about. Previously.
Yeah, I mean they'll pull you. You make a mistake, they're gonna get you out of the game. I mean, they did it to Audric Estime. He fumbled, and then we didn't see him for like 2 quarters. Just they don't want to have it. The ref thing, people are always telling me like to ignore it or something, like don't talk about it. I don't understand. Like I wouldn't have said anything if it was just the offside stuff because it's like Notre Dame's fault. Like those are procedure penalties.
Yeah.
Like, do what you're supposed to do. But like, I think kind of besides the fact that you're not supposed to review the play, where's the conclusive evidence that ball went over the pylon? Like, I'm just not seeing it. Even the pylon cam, when they showed the pylon cam, I was like, actually, this is the one that makes me think it went out of bounds at the 1.
They didn't watch it. They were praising it. They were like, wow, look at this shot. Perfect. Like, I mean, admittedly, I thought, I think that might have went in. But like, that's what I thought at the time. But they were like, the 2 guys who were being paid, looking at monitors of it, they didn't come to that conclusion. So I don't know. I don't know. I just, you know what? Want people to stop complaining about it. How about it stops happening? Like, it's happened enough that it's just one of these things. Like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Like the procedure penalties, it's totally different. But some of those other calls, it's like, that's 19 yards. Here's 15 yards here. Here's that there. Like, that stuff adds up, man. It really does.
It just, it just can't happen. Look at and Marcus Freeman says, "Oh, they owned it." Like, I'm sorry. Like, the recrimination needs to be public. You need to say we blew it. We blew the call, and we cost them. Like, stuff like that needs to be like they need to put that out publicly. Like, it's a game integrity issue. It truly is. Like, and honestly, like, I think people need to start fading Notre Dame in ACC games. Like, it's just. In terms of like the spread and whatever, like it just shouldn't happen. And we've seen it. We saw it at Syracuse last year too. When they go on the road, it's just a total disaster. And it's a disgrace. I truly believe that. I truly believe that it has reached that level, and it's indefensible. And where's the accountability for them? Where is it? It's like the Supreme Court. Yeah. Where's the accountability for these referees? Like they just do it. They just do it. Like it happens, and it's like, all right, well, on to the next. All right, we apologize to the coach. I don't know what that means. Smooth driver says, as solid as the defense has been as a whole, what can they improve late in the game? If not for Notre Dame's 95-yard drive, the defense would have given up a game-winning touchdown drives 2 weeks in a row. Are you noticing any issues that arise during these crunch time situations?
Well, they did get a stop right after, and they did get a stop before that too. And then after they gave up the touchdown, Notre Dame went 3 and out on offense.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a little bit more context in the fact that the offense stunk up the joint the whole game. And so that is definitely part of it, right? I think that, when you're getting into close things, it's like you got to finish. And also, it's not giving them credit for actually finishing. Like, they got on they did get the third down stop with they blitzed Watts off the edge, got the third down stop there. They also got the sack, forced fumble at the end of the game. So that's part of it. I think, actually, you know what? I'm taking that Duke thing off the table. They finished. They did what they need to. Did they give up score in the fourth quarter? Yes, but they finished in the game. And they also like that. It's like one of those things too, where Ohio State, they need to finish there. Like, they were just, but again, they're like a drop DJ Brown interception away from, I mean, it was right there. It hit him in the hands. Like,
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden people are like, man, what the defense bailed out the offense in there, right? Like, so I can't say that there's anything big that needs to change based on kind of just those situations.
I think their biggest thing they need to change is with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the offense needs to have more than 13 points. That's what they need to change.
Yeah,
seriously.
That would help. Yeah.
And more than 14 points against Ohio State with 1 minute 20 left in the game. That's what they need. Like, you give up a drive. Like, that's why you don't want to give a team chances over and over again, because they're going to come through eventually. It's major college football. They're a ranked opponent. Eventually, they will have some drive where, it's 2nd and 10 and your defensive end gets called for targeting because you hit him on the hip. Like, stuff like that happens. Like, it's so I just can't. Like, it's hard for me. They got the ball back, like you said, and the offense went down and won the game, and then they finished the game.
Yeah. Even the one play, the drive that they had where, obviously you mentioned the Botello penalty as well.
Yeah.
Like, those are just like plays where, I mean, Morrison missed the tackle that caused the big play. All of a sudden they're in the red zone.
Yeah.
Right. So make that tackle, really, right? Like, make that tackle. It's one guy not doing his job. And then, I mean, I think rightfully we had beef with them having the personnel they had on that 1 3rd and 5 play. But if you go back and look at it, it was a lights out throw by Riley Leonard. Like, it was a perfect throw. And he had not made that throw all game. And he did in that moment. And there's a reason. Like, I saw, it's funny because Nate Tice does a lot of great work for them and breaking down stuff. And he highlighted that throw. He's like, oh, whatever. I'm like, maybe because he's a Riley Leonard guy. I'm like, what about all the other times that Notre Dame had him in a pretzel? Like, he didn't, but he highlighted that because it was such a great play, because the call was actually perfectly fine of what Notre Dame did. They just got beat by a better throw, because Tui Halamaka was actually like very close to getting his hand on that. And if the throw's off, it's probably a pick, or at least being knocked down. So I don't know. It's like, get that quarterback to have a worse throw there, make that tackle there, don't have the thing. I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, agree. Okay, Meek Irish. Merryweather seems to be lost, maybe not ready for the mental, physical toll that comes with being on the field almost every play. I haven't seen whether he is blocking well, running routes with urgency, or seems to be taking plays off. I guess the big question is, what do you think is the best way to approach the scenario? Stay with higher proportion of full-time job reps, or mostly feature player reps? First of all, I really appreciate this question and the way it was asked in terms of
great question.
Like, how does the situation get resolved, instead of just like, Merryweather stinks.
Yes, I
bench him.
I hate when people just do that.
Yeah, bench him and put in anyone else, right? Like, so this is a good question from Meek Irish. So what do you think there, Jamie?
Yeah, like, it adds just everything. Meek Irish, like, just, I think I'm going to give you props on the board right after this for this question. Great job. I think not full-time job, because he hasn't earned it if those guys are back. So it's just like the kind of thing where we were talking about, you got to kind of make the most of the little reps you get.
Yeah.
Well, he had a huge opportunity in this game and he didn't make the most of it. So that doesn't call for, let's just keep throwing him the ball. That doesn't call for it, right? So what has to happen now is he's got to go out and earn it. And that is practice. And that's something that, Mike brought up in the thing. And we're not at every practice, whatever. But whenever we've been there, he has never had like, man, Tobias Merryweather had a great practice today, or he dominated. He's never had one of those when we have been there, right? And we always heard like, yo, he had a good day or he made this big catch, but never had it when the media was there. So just take it for what it's worth. And we've seen other guys have big days there, like plenty of other guys. So that's something he needs to practice at a high level. Is he practicing at a high level? That's what he needs to do to go back and earn it. And I think that's like the main thing. I think blocking wise, he's been pretty good. Like, I'll say, like, I think he's been solid at the very least as a blocker. Effort is not a problem with him blocking. I haven't seen him give like, be a dog out there blocking wise. And like, I mean, he's certainly not dominant, but he's does a job. Like he does good enough. So, but also too, you don't want to have a guy out there who's just like, it's run because he's just going to do it. And he has to become a threat. And if the other team doesn't think he's a threat, then that makes it easier to defend and all this stuff too. Right. So, I think he's got to earn it in practice. And I would see like he's, and then even to get featured in a way where they're like, hey, we're going to run a go with Tobias here. He's got to show more in practice and build that back up. And hopefully he does. Because I think obviously Notre Dame could use him. So that was one of the things that we talked about when he had those big plays earlier. And Greg, you highlighted that he was making the most of his kind of limited opportunities, but then it really hasn't gone anywhere from that.
Yeah. Listeners to this show will know, like, I've been very like, he'll be fine. Hand up, I never thought he would have a game like that. Ever. I did not think that was like possible. So there's that. So hand up on that. I think Meek Irish has the pulse of it in that, like, when he says not ready for the mental and physical toll that comes with being on the field, like, I think that Chancey Stuckey needs to say, you know what? Like, it's not so much that he showed you in that game, like, he's not ready. So if I was Chancey Stuckey, I'd go to him and be like, hey man, we're going to lighten your load a little bit. It seems to me that it's too much for you right now. And then he should tell him, like, hey, what we saw out there was a player that is not confident, that because like you point out the blocking, right? It's not just in the run game. If you watch a play, he'll be running a route. And there's one specific play I'm thinking of where he ran kind of like a go. And he wasn't like really in the progression. So he's not getting the ball thrown to him no matter what. He runs a go, he's open, right? And someone catches the ball underneath. And as soon as he sees that, he immediately turns and gets himself engaged with the corner. They're like 20 yards down the field. Okay. The ball's probably not getting to them, but he immediately turns and engages the corner, and he starts fighting with the corner to stay in front. And I'm going to block you. That's the kind of stuff. Like, he's doing that stuff. So obviously this is someone who cares, right? He like clearly cares. And that's a big deal in terms of how to approach him. He drops the pass. You see the shoulder slump, right? Even after the play where he dropped the ball on the go route where he got the offensive pass interference, like, you could just tell, like, he's upset, but he's like disappointed in himself. You could just tell, like, it's too much for him. If I was Chancey Stuckey, I would go to him like, hey, you're not playing confident. Why aren't you confident? What reason do you have not to be confident? Like, who on the Notre Dame football team, the first catch he ever made in his career against Stanford last year, who on the Notre Dame football team right now has cooked a defensive back like that? Like, absolutely got him turned around, barbecued over the top. Like, we have not seen that from any player. Like, you did that in your first game. Okay. The play that he made against Ohio State, like, look, it's a little simple play, but it was a winning play. Drew a penalty against Ohio State. The long pass he caught against Central Michigan, right? Where it's like, hey man, you're doing things that we're asking you to do. why are you lacking in confidence? You should be confident. Like, you should be confident. There's no reason for you to be like this. So let's go back to practice, like you said, and let's just all the little stuff. Do all the little stuff right. Okay, we're going to lessen your load. It's not going to be 60 snaps. You're not going to lead the wideouts and snaps anymore. And we're not doing that because we're giving up on you. We're doing that because you're showing us, hey, you need a little bit less. So we're going to give you a little bit less. You can't give up on him. You can't. And the other part is, it's not his fault that the wide receiver situation is what it is. Because look, someone asked about Braylon James earlier. Braylon James might be on the exact same track as Tobias Merryweather, and this would be a much bigger problem if Jaden Greathouse and Rico Flores weren't in this class. Imagine if Braylon James was the only player in the wide receiver class. It would be a problem, right? Like everyone said going in this year, it has to happen. That's not his problem. It's not his problem that they recruited like that. It's not his problem that Caleb Smith quit the team. It's not his problem. He is where he is. Like, no one says Jalen Sneed, same class. No one says Jalen Sneed, never going to be good. We don't talk about him the same way. We don't talk about Burnham the same way. We don't talk about all those. Billy Strouth, he didn't win a job.
It's because of the situation at receiver. And that's what happens. I get it with, fans. That's what it is. And it's understandable why the reaction is that way, because if Maris was playing like he was playing last year, all anyone would be saying is, why isn't Jalen Sneed playing?
Right.
Why? That's exactly what they would be saying. Right. So that's what happens, right? Is all the time, if someone's not playing, then the next guy is whatever. Right. But I wanted to point out that the CFB hurts, because I think that's a good point about Styles. And that was the thing with Styles last year. He was still a competitive guy. He sprung, Logan Diggs on that one big play in tremendous effort blocking down the field on that play. So, I mean, it also doesn't mean so no one is saying that he's a quitter or anything like that with Tobias Merryweather, or that even Lorenzo Styles was like, he's a quitter too. But it's like, you have to do all parts of the job. You have to show confidence. You have to catch the ball. You have to do all these other things. It's obviously not just an effort thing with everyone, right? Because most of the guys on the team, like 99.9% of them, all play with good effort, right? So I think that's but if someone doesn't have that, then it's like, you might as well write him off. But because he's showing that, that's why you say, don't write him off. Do not write him off yet. It's too early to write him off. Let's let it play out. Let it play out and see if this is just, this is a footnote in what he's going to be later on. Because, I mean, plenty of guys have struggled and then found their way. And so hopefully that happens with Tobias. I'm rooting for him. I think everyone should be rooting for him.
And the other part is the Lorenzo Styles outcome is a total disaster. That could not happen, and it did happen. Now, if Lorenzo Styles, if he played a part in that, right, then okay, there's stuff that goes on in the locker room behind the scenes that we don't know about, and maybe they were mitigating things. I don't think there's anything negative going on with Tobias that way. I haven't heard that, right? So like CFB Hurt says, why would we talk about Burnham like that? He's been great whenever he gets on the field. Burnham, what did he do in this game? Kind of nothing, right? Now, it doesn't matter because there's other guys. That's the point. He's behind Jordan Botelho. If Tobias Merryweather had these exact stats, all of this happened while he was sitting behind Kevin Austin or something, it would be great. People would be so happy. But the fact is that Lorenzo Styles should not have been. That should not have happened. That was a terrible outcome that he left the program, and that can't happen in this situation. That's my point. It's like this can't happen with Tobias Merryweather. You need to make sure that you keep him engaged and you keep him involved and let him know, like, hey, we believe in you. It's too much right now. We're going to give you less, but you are an important player for us. You are a very big part of the success of this football team.
One other thing with just the Burnham thing is, well, now he gets that opportunity because he's probably going to start this game. Right. And Junior Tuihalamaka too. Right. Junior Tuihalamaka, I thought was, obviously he didn't play a ton of plays, but he looked the best for me when he in that game compared to how he's played in other games. So I think Burnham, it's like, you know what? Everybody wants Burnham to play more. Now you're going to play more. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Because if Burnham comes out, and I promise you, if Burnham comes out in the first half and he gets 2 sacks, he's going to play a lot in the second half. Botello's not going to be out there and all these key situations. You got to go and earn it. It's just like how early in the season, Burnham was playing really well. And then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, Burnham, they gave him a 3rd down rep here where he was with like the regular team. So go out there and do it. And that'd be, great if he does. Yeah.
And look, and just Botelho, another guy, like you could look side eye at him, right? Like just hasn't been producing, So it's just, I just think that he's done.
But other guys in the D line are playing well, so the spotlight isn't on him as much.
Right. So other guys, so he had a bad game. He had a very bad game, in my opinion. Afterwards, I don't know if we said it on the show or if it was when the show ended. It's like they're probably going to give him a lot less, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rico Flores was starting at the field, to be honest. But you can't lose. First of all, you have 5 wide receivers. You can't lose him. Like mentally, you can't lose him, right? So just everyone's got to be patient with him, and I think the coaches have to be patient with him. The coaches have to convince him, like, hey man, like you're good. You're a good player. Okay, we're gonna give you a bit less, but you're a good player who can make plays. What we saw on Saturday, that's not it, and he knows that's not it. So let's see it. Let's see the talent. Even though we were trotting out backup receivers last week against Duke, these kids are still 4-star talents. Why did have all season have such a hard time getting separation against 2- and 3-star corners? So obviously not Ohio State. Is it coaching, or are they overrated out of high school?
Well, one, they weren't. They had 4-star corners out there. Just so you know, read the scouting reports.
Read the scouting reports.
Transfer from Miami. Blades was a elite prospect at high school. And he's a guy who played at one point, was a very good player from Miami, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that they evaluate pretty darn well too. Like Dwayne Carter too. People are like, oh, who is this guy? Duke, whatever. Well, he was a 4-star kid, and he's played like a great player out there, right? So that's RJ Oben, I believe, was a 4-star kid on their defensive line. So they've had guys who played at elite level who were, considered elite recruits. I think, it's just one of these things too, where you're like, well, Rico, it's what that question that was brought up earlier. Rico Flores is a true freshman. By the way, he's a true freshman. Yeah. Chris Tyree is like, yes, he's done really well with his opportunities, but he's still new to receiver. Like I mean, if I was him coming out of the season, I would probably come back for a 5th year, because he's not someone who's going to do enough to leave, and go to the NFL.
Yeah.
He still needs more. Right. And then we talked about Tobias, having his struggles or whatever. That's just it. That's it. It is what it is. And then also too, we mentioned the thing about like, man beaters versus zone beaters, man. Like that plays into it too, and people don't take all that into account. Also, they're getting a lot of pressure on Hartman, so he's maybe not seeing some things there because of the pressure, and he has to get out and escape the pocket, and that happened a lot too.
Yeah, it's just a confluence of variables for those guys in the game against Duke, and they just run a lot of routes that aren't really conducive to them, like being in space and being free and putting the defense in a bad situation. So, but we've talked about that a bunch. And Thurman asked, do you think Parker is the answer at OC going forward? Would Freeman actually make a change? So for me, I don't want to like, so on the kind of same vein that we were just talking, like, I don't want to make a conclusion on Jared Parker after 6 games, especially when, like, someone asked a question in the chat about, or they made a comment like, why didn't we see more creativity in the run game? We saw a ton of creativity against Ohio State. Like, from a run game standpoint, Jared Parker did a very good job scheming up things in that game. And look, we were very complimentary in the first 4 weeks. It's just like, I really liked what I saw from him. The last 2 weeks have been kind of alarming, but I don't want to throw all that previous stuff away just because I didn't like the last 2 games. The last 2 games are concerning to me, and I'm monitoring, but I don't want to jump the gun and be like, well, if this happens, then Marcus Freeman needs to do X thing. Like, when it comes to it, to a full evaluation, then we can have a conversation. But right now, I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Also, they played the 2 best defenses that they've played.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of
This is a good point by James Lawrence NC too. Like, Al Golden was, in my opinion, Al Golden last year was like the Jared Parker version, like this year. And the defense is top, like an F plus, I think they're top 10. Or an SP plus, they're top 10 or something like that.
SP plus are top 10, they're 11th.
Oh, okay. An F plus.
Freemo just he hates the Irish. He's got they're 11th in F plus. Yeah, so the FEI they're down or whatever, but yeah. I don't know, they're like top 15 or something. But yeah, like that's a good point about that, because I think if Al Golden came out and it was looking like it exactly was last year, that would be something where people were calling for it. And I don't know. I hate this too when people are like calling for nothing wrong with the question, right? And Thurman, I'm not saying that, but I hate when people are like, it's obvious we need to make a change. I'm like, no, it's not obvious yet. Like, I think they need to let it play out and then see what happens. Definitely, like, there's been coordinator changes within the season already. Louisville's actually already played 2 teams that have fired coordinators.
Yeah.
So another kind of thing to add some context to Louisville and kind of the competition they played.
Yeah. So
that is something. There's definitely not like we need to get rid of this, whatever. But I'll say this, like, this is a big week for Jared Parker, because it's like a lot of coaching is just like, well, you didn't have it this week. Well, you got to have it the next week, right? Yeah. And this is just where it's at. Then they're going to have USC. The thing is if they have a good next couple weeks, I'm not saying people will be on the Parker bandwagon, but things quiet down, because they should quiet down if he does a good job, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, and just kind of address the question directly. Like, I think the way that Freeman handled Golden shows, like, he'll stick with Parker, right? Get the team second year in the offense and on and on and on, right? And all those things that go along with it. I don't think he wants to get into another coaching search either, to be honest with you. So I think when you look at that, he'll stick with them, but things can change. Golden. It worked out with Golden, and that will probably, kind of convince Freeman that, that's the way to go. Last question of the day, and we kind of talked about this earlier. Does Notre Dame need to join a conference to not get screwed by referees?
I mean, I'm sure it would help them if they were in the Big Ten. They wouldn't get as many calls against them as from Big Ten refs or whatever, or the ACC. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's something. It's enough now that in the ACC where I'm like, yeah, that I do think it has at least some impact. And it hasn't cost them a game yet. Obviously not.
They've lost. They won the last 30.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like a different thing if there was like remember there was that OU Oregon game with the Pac-12, and that's like literally where it became like Pac-12 refs because it just was it was like an onside kick or something, right? That I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was egregious, and then that's kind of how it turned into a big deal. So I guess we'll just see with you know, I think they're gonna have to join a conference anyways. Like it's just heading in that direction. And I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of gross incompetence around. Refereeing in general. Like I don't even think that was like put it this way. I don't think that they reviewed that touchback because it was Notre Dame. I think they're just bad. They're just dumb and they're bad at their jobs. So maybe some of the other stuff was a little bit more of like they were, looking for stuff or whatever. But that one I just would blame on like, oh no, these guys are actually just terrible.
Yeah. Let me give you some context of what's going around the world in like other sports. So we watch a lot of the English Premier League. My kids love it, and it's on super early on the weekends, so they can wake up and it's on. There was a game where there was a goal scored in is Liverpool versus Tottenham. Goal scored, Mo Salah sends it up, and the player scores a goal, and it's ruled offside on the field. And they have what's VAR basically, which is they're reviewing the play, and the person reviewing the play didn't notice that on the field it was ruled offside. So they looked at the replay and was like, oh, he's obviously onside. So review complete, like you're good. Thinking that the goal was going to be allowed, when in fact the goal was disallowed. And so they reviewed it and said it should be a goal, but they didn't know how it was called on the field. And so the goal was disallowed and Liverpool ended up losing 2-1. It's a total disaster. Like it's a total disaster. Like, and that, and like, the person reviewing doesn't know what the call was on the field at the time. Like no one is celebrating the goal because the flag went up. Right. So that's the kind of thing that's going on in the world of refereeing and sports and that sort of thing. So like you said, Jamie, I think you can Occam's razor, just chalk these things up to gross incompetence a lot of the time and move on with your day. Those are all done with the questions, Jamie. So I think we'll end it there, and we'll be back on Thursday previewing. We'll be previewing who do they play? Louisville. Jeez, my mind is all over the place. We'll be previewing Louisville and what they're bringing to the table. Marcus Freeman will be having his press conference on Thursday, so any updates, we'll talk about that then. So please, thank you everyone for listening. Please subscribe to the show. Please like the show. Please hit the notification bell so you know going live. We'll be back on Thursday. Have a great day, everyone, and keep hitting and hustling.